Hi everyone, this is Burgess. Today I'm going to paint a super simple beach scene that is ideal for a beginner. It doesn't have that much detail, and I think you can manage it because when I first started painting, I did attempt a beach scene, maybe after about a couple of months of trying to paint and failing, and I did paint this. And again, I mean, it's not very well done because the sky's very streaky, the rocks aren't right. So I'm going to repaint this one that I did 20 odd years ago, maybe 30 years ago. But I'm going to paint it again and maybe try and improve upon it, maybe especially the sky. Now, since it was done right in the beginning, when I first started, I was a complete novice. So I think you can manage it as well. So let's start by wetting down the sky, and I don't mind it. I've already done the drawing, as you can see, a very rough, the same drawing. Now, I don't mind getting the paint, the water, or even the paint into this headland area, which is going to be green. So I'm going to put down a little bit of water. We don't want to saturate it completely, just enough to sort of dampen it, and then put down some ultramarine blue. Now, I'm using a hake brush for the sky, but if you have a round brush or a flat brush, a 3/4 flat brush, you can certainly use that. So we're just going to put that all the way along here, along the whole sky, make it a bit stronger. I want to make that sky stronger still, so let's just put more down right at the top there. Now we're going to take a bit of tissue and put out some and you want to do this with a clean tissue. This is sort of semi-clean. And press down hard to get that cloud pattern. Keep changing the position of the tissue. Do the same sort of along here. There, and maybe a couple at the top, not too much, just to give it a bit of interest. Just put a little bit more ultramarine blue in places, just here. I've noticed what we can do is take a little bit of Payne's grey, just a touch, and we can dab it on here at the bottom of the clouds for some shadow. About a bit more here. Now we let that dry, and we'll come back to it once it's done so we can work on the headland here. Now while it was drying, I took the bulldog clip off, and I noticed I've got this spare piece of this sort of space. So what I'm going to do is take some magic sponge and blend that in. And then a bit of more blue to the corner so it doesn't look like it's a bit of space left over there, like that. And now what I'm going to do is work on, now that the sky is dry, work on this headland. And for this I'm going to use the Terry Harrison round foliage brush, and I'm going to make a mixture of deep green, which is the equivalent of Hooker's green, and mix that with burnt sienna. And it's a very dark headland, as you can see from the photograph that I showed you earlier. And what I've also done is, if you can see here, I put a tape here because I want this sandy area to remain sort of untouched. So what we're going to do is just dab, dab, dab with this. And I remember, this was from a photograph I saw over 25 years ago, I think back in 1994. And I remember, I cannot remember which photograph it was, where it was from. I don't remember anything, unfortunately. But I remember one thing, that this was completely green. So I'm sort of going all over that. See how easy it is? I mean, if you don't have a round foliage brush, you can certainly use a round brush. And with that, you can take your round brush, dip it in the paint, and smash it up like that, and get that splayed end. But I'm just using it because it was given to me as a gift, and it's something I always wanted. I'm trying to sort of improve on what I did. I'm wondering whether I should try and add a bit of variation, like the greens. But this is for beginners, so let's just keep it very, very simple. I'm going to switch to the round brush to add a bit of detail up here. And what we could do is take a card and just carve out a few rock. There's some trunks in the distance. Overdo it, and that's our headland done. So we can remove that now and get that clean edge. And now what I want to do is I want to work on the water. Now for the water, I'm going to be using my round brush, and you know what we're trying to do is get some foam coming here onto the sandy area. So I'm going to start off with a weird color, actually, some Viridian. Now Viridian is a sort of a greeny color, and it's sort of a greeny blue. And for this I'm going to use my round brush. I'll switch to that because we're trying to explain that, I'm trying to show you that you can do this with any brush, really. I mean, I'm using the round brush, simply the Hake brush, because I like using it. A bit more to the horizon line there. we're going to switch to some turquoise. I'm painting a beach scene, so after so many years, so if it's not the best, so coming up to the shore here, so just vary brush strokes. Darken some areas. I'm not happy with this actually, I don't know. It'll improve once we put the sand in. I'll put some darker colours in. Use the side of the brush, use some dry brush. And now I'm going to try and work on the sand. And for this, I'm going to use a weird sort of colour. I'm going to use yellow ochre, but I'm going to mix it. I'm going to mix it with, I know you're going to hate me for this because it's not something that's usually done. So what I'm going to do is take some Chinese white, because I want the sand to be, I'm going to wet it first actually. Let's wet the sand first. Oh, brush is sort of leaving a blue mark there. But I'm going to wet the sand first, so that the whole area, and you can go over the rocks as well a little bit, because the rocks are going to have more yellow ochre in them anyway. So just wet the whole area, because I want it to sort of be a smooth sand. So we're not looking for anything like, as you saw in the picture, anything like lots of texture or sand dunes or anything like that. Okay, so I've made a very, very sort of faint, very faint yellow, very, very faint. It's almost like a tint to the paper. You find that it's too white, you can always go in and add a bit more, and I do find that it's a little bit too sort of white there. Let's do it from the side of the brush. To give a bit of a dry brush technique here. And the sand's a bit wet in the edges here, so let's just make it a little bit darker with this mixing with the make it a little bit darker there. So make the ends a little bit dark, because they are meant to be, when it gets wet, you know, as you get sand gets wet, darker, I hope. I mean, I haven't been to a beach in years, so this is in the distance, so a little bit more. And you can darken some of the, you could put a bit of dry brush in, just to add a bit of warmth and texture to the sand a little bit. Okay, just blend that off a little bit in the distance there. And what I want to do is also, because we've got rocks there, you know, darken those under the rocks too. Now we're going to work on these rocks. What I'm going to do is, again with the yellow ochre, but very, very fairly strong. Let's try the distant one here first. Fairly a bit stronger. I'm assuming it's a yellow ochre sort of coloured rock. I'm going to add a bit of texture while it's sort of still sort of wet. First of all, we can remove some shading like that, and now we're going to add maybe some, I don't know, burnt sienna. The burnt sienna in some places. Darken the yellow ochre in some places. Switch to a smaller brush and go into some Van Dyke brown. Some stippling. can do a bit of lifting as well. There. And now we're going to do the same with this one, these two in the front here. So again, we're going to go in with some yellow ochre. What we can do with this one is just maybe try adding some Van Dyke Brown first and blending it a little bit. This one a bit more here. We can add some burnt sienna to that. You can also add some Van Dyke Brown. We can also do some lifting here. I'm going to darken the shadows a little bit under here. Try and intensify the darkness under the rocks so it looks like it's actually sitting on something, otherwise it's going to look like it's standing in midair. So that's why I'm sort of layering and layering. Now what I want to do finally is take a little bit of the deep green and burnt sienna, and with a small flat brush darken a little bit. I still think we need to darken the sand near the water's edge where the water is coming in, so I'm going to go in with a dry brush. Mix it in with the water a little bit here. So here's our beach scene, very simple. I didn't want to do anything with this, because I didn't do it then back then either. So I'll just remove this tape. Super simple, I think. Beach scene. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you found that useful. If you did, do give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment, and do consider subscribing if you liked it. Thank you.